I find it kinda hilarious that out of all of Riot's games, League of Legends might be the only game that's behind on representing League of Legends. Don't get me wrong, with the new seasonal system, League is really good at setting up stories that are currently happening in the universe. But at the same time, when it comes to serving old champions, there's a lot that could be desired. And that is inherently because the game is old, which is why Riot tried to ramp up the ASUs so much. But that also means that Riot's other games just tend to do this better. And that's simply because in those games, the old champions are technically new champions. And of course, we are specifically talking about Legends of Runeterra and Wild Rift. Unfortunately, Legends of Runeterra got hit with an unexpected bat. We simply don't know how much of it is really canon, because there everything is canon, until something doesn't make sense and everyone silently agrees to ignore that. Anyway, throughout the years, both Legends of Runeterra and Wild Rift updated multiple champions that really needed it. Though in some cases it might have been slightly faked. For example, the HD model of Gragas is amazing. It was my favorite addition to the game at launch. But in-game, it is simply the Gragas from League. Though occasionally, and this especially happens these days, whenever a new champion drops into Wild Rift, it tends to be great in both the HD model and the game. And it just so happens to be that throughout this entire year, all the updates to older champions have been wild. And in many ways, those designs are now considered to be the canonical look. And so, let's now have a look at what Wild Rift has cooked. If we rewind a little bit, things actually started getting really interesting about 6 months ago. Back then, it all fired off with Ryze, which, to be honest, the HD model in Wild Rift looks crazy. You can see how it is directly inspired by his looks in the old cinematics. But more importantly, in the same patch, Wild Rift also decided to make Zilean amazing. Because they used the Legends of Runeterra design, which everyone loved from the very beginning. This is the mage from the Icathian kingdom that I always wanted to see. Not that thing. In fact, the Zilean in-game now might be the most outdated model we have. It would be on par with Shaco. I mean, if you have a look at it, none of it makes sense. And it's not even close. Cogwheels, giant clock, a cuckoo house? I can't even argue he could be from Piltover. Which is why, when this Zilean was revealed for Wild Rift, everyone asked the same question. Riot, can you add this into League? We know you have the workflow figured out for porting skins over from Wild Rift, so there is no way you can't also do that for the base models. But alas, when it comes to ASUs, Riot told us that they wanna push them out when it makes sense thematically. And so, if we wanna see the Zilean, I guess we should wait for a Shuriman season. Wait. Also, just so you know, Zilean has a different kit in Wild Rift. There, while his bombs and the speed up and the ultimate are the same, his slowdown is actually an AoE ability that properly slows time. I don't think Riot can pull that off in League, which is when we fast forward a month, which is where Nocturne arrived. Now, this version of Nocturne is pretty similar to the original, but I still love the nightmarish blades on his arms. It all feels quite creepy, although the shoulder pads kinda feel arbitrary. As to what does he look like in the game, well, that's Nocturne with tweaked blades. And so moving forward from that, 2 months later, we got Aurora, which is basically Aurora from League. It's a new champion, there is not much they could have done. Which takes us forward to about 2 months ago. And that is where things started getting really interesting again, with the first addition here being Bard. Now this one is cool because this one heavily leans into the idea of a Celestial wearing a bunch of trinkets. This is why you can see all the golden decorations. According to the canonical lore, Bard technically stole those from a traveling theater, so I guess they had costumes for a Targonian play or something. You can also see some Shuriman hints. With the most obvious difference from the base design being the mask. Now, I have to be honest, I kinda prefer the original from League. This new updated design almost gives him too much of a face. But overall, it is still quite a bit of a glow up from the previous model. And surprisingly, the in-game model feels even better. His entire color palette feels more like a weary traveler. But that takes us to last month, which is where Riot revealed something really cool. The first update ever to Voidborn, which is not just a one-to-one port, it is an update. That's right, no matter where you look. For some reason, none of Riot's games wanna touch anything that is related to a Voidborn. At least not one that appears in League of Legends. But thankfully, Wild Rift decided to update one of them. And so they updated the newest one. Yes, that's right, Vel'Koz is in Wild Rift. Now, let's imagine we are in Riot's MMO 4 years from now. This is what I want the Voidborn to look like. The color palette is quite cool. The living flesh looks really creepy. And the texture work is wild. Man, I wish Vel'Koz actually looked like that in the game. Because all of this is just amazing. And what's also cool is that he looks really good in the game here too. You can see that the model was tweaked to give him some of the sharper edges. And now the entire shape works quite well. But that takes us to yesterday, which is when Wild Rift revealed the next patch, which also gave us more champions who are getting updated. Now, to set up the context, let's just quickly brush through the patch. Basically, Wild Rift is celebrating another anniversary. They also have their own worlds going on, and they do also have their own Jarvan as the world skin. Though this one is different. They also have a bunch of new game modes, including the ARAM with augments, which League is now also getting. And they also have a new game mode, which is just League of Legends, if the entire game took 9 minutes. Then there is also a bunch of new cosmetics, but what we are interested in are the champions. Because this time around, Wild Rift got 3 more, with the first one being Rell. Now, Rell is interesting because people don't know that Arcane essentially rewrote her entire story. That's right, the prequel to Arcane, the Mbessa book, focused on Rell quite a lot. I swear we'll talk about her story one day, but for now, yes, the Rell in Wild Rift is nearly identical to the one in League. So there is nothing really new there. Though she was immediately followed by another champion who got a massive overhaul. And that is Nidalee. Now, we have a lot to talk about here. So first, let's break down the design. Of course, Nidalee is a champion who lives in the jungles around Ixtal, which is why her design is full of Ixtali references, even though Nidalee is not really known for interacting with people. This is why, while it's cool to see her having all the Ixtali runes as tattoos on her body, in reality, would she really care about the region that she's from? I guess there could be magical reasons for the tattoos after all. And yes, you can also see that the spear is kinda themed after the tools of the native people. She also has marks on her face with the same color scheme. The pin on her head is now the reverse symbol of Ixtal. And the same symbol can also be found around the crystal on her forehead. Why is the crystal there? Nobody knows! But at least it was tweaked to fit Ixtal now. And so I have to say that overall, this really feels like a hunter from the jungles of Ixtal. This is also why some of the aspects of her design are close to Rengar, who is also a hunter from the same jungles. But then, when she transforms into a cougar, all these aspects get even more enhanced. And now you can really notice the design of the new crystal. And so overall, even in the game, this is a good update. It feels quite close to what she would canonically likely look like. But do you know what it doesn't look like? The design from Legends of Runeterra. That's right, technically, Nidalee already got a new look that was absolutely beloved. I mean, that design was wild, all puns intended. And so people got sad that Wild Rift didn't go for it, even though Zilean got a similar treatment from Legends of Runeterra. I mean, can you imagine that cougar form in the game? If Wild Rift pulled it off, people would immediately wanna see that in League 2. And so is this update to Nidalee good? Yes. Is it the best it could have been? Well, I guess that is questionable. And that takes us to the last update, which goes to another Voidborn. In fact, it is one of the oldest Voidborn we had in the game. Of course, I am talking about Kog'Maw. Now, I have to say, I kinda love the HD model, even though it is still very close to the original. His new snout kinda reminds me of Godzilla. But now Kog'Maw actually feels like a larva that invaded this world. That's right, we actually have no idea what Kog'Maw's lore is about. All we know is that he's some kind of a larva of something that is void-touched, and that's it. And I just love how this update made him slightly more creepy and a little bit more serious, even though he is supposed to be goofy. And I don't know, there's not much happening here, but I still love it. I'm just not used to people updating Kog'Maw. But that is kinda it for all the updates we got. Which really made me think. While Wild Rift is paying attention to all the designs from Legends of Runeterra, and sometimes they decide to ignore them if they want to cater to their own audience, which is likely what happened with Nidalee, well, by that logic, should Cho'Gath eventually come to Wild Rift? Will he get a new design? Or will he be the same but slightly updated as the one in League? Well, in his case, he also has really old animations. I mean, that model came from 2008. And so, let me make a request to the Wild Rift team. Please pull that off.